Wellness Show, episode 28.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. So welcome to the Wellness Show. I'm very pleased today to have Lois Gueret on the show today, and we are very excited about what we're going to talk about. And right now, interesting enough, I'm used to her being in the Okanagan, but right now she's on the Rock in Newfoundland on the other side of Canada. So we're very fortunate to have her between all these time zones to have an opportunity to have this discussion. So bring us up to date. What's happening in your world?
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. And this is my first time using this program, and I'm really curious. Isn't technology wonderful that we can do something like this, right?
It is.
And integrate it into a spiritual practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking at people eyeball to eyeball makes such a big difference. You know, when you're working particularly with clients or doing an interview, being able to see and even show things to people, right? Particularly if you're dowsing,
that's right.
Show them what you're doing is very, very valuable. So yes, this is a great technology. Halfway from one side of Canada to the other, and here we are.
Yes. Now I met you through Questers, and that's when I was exploring the use of divination in regards to my mediumship skills. So I'm going to just take a minute here to talk about who I am so that our listeners can understand where I'm coming from. So I'm a psychic medium, and I do spiritual connections, but I have a predisposition for rescue mediumship. So that makes me a little bit different than your standard medium that you see in the media today.
So what's a rescue medium?
Pardon me?
So what's a rescue medium?
A rescue medium is someone who can do areas. So what happens with me is I can tune into the energy, any spirits or any beings that are associated with a location, and work as a communicator for them to whoever it is that needs to have the communication. So for instance, if someone has some paranormal or supernatural activity going on in their home and they were to consult me, I could go in and do a consultation, because I don't like to call myself an investigator. Investigator is a little bit different. With my consultation, I include direct hand-on involvement, but I also work with the client to teach them the skills so that they don't need to be dependent on me or dependent on anyone else in order to have a spiritually healthy environment in their homes or on their land.
I like that. That's what I do too. So helping people to regain their power.
That's right. And I think that that's what rescue mediumship is about. It's helping you learn what it is that's going on so that you can feel safe and secure. Fear is a big issue, and I'm sure you've noticed that just recently it seems to be an even bigger issue with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think
so. That's what I do.
Yeah, so I this is a big issue. I think we're doing a major planetary cleanup right now. So all sorts of things are coming up that normally wouldn't come up previously. So
yes. 2016 has just been really interesting so far. Yes. So with what I do as a rescue medium and a spirit medium, I have a pretty broad range of things that I need to have an education on. So that means that I do research and I participate in events where I can learn about different things. So interdimensionals, shamanic practices. I did attend with Deb Warren at the Okanagan CSETI. I did many years of her CE5 night so that I have an in-depth understanding of what ETs are like. Elementals, I have studied divination, like I was telling you before, remote viewing, crystals, and I also like to know a little bit about different faiths and different rituals because, and I heard you say this in one of your other programs, which was really interesting. My belief is when you're talking to spirit, you need to talk to them in their language.
Absolutely.
So that means that if I was to just practice Christianity, there's a whole bunch of other understanding out there that I wouldn't be privy to. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I like to know a little bit about different faiths so that I understand who it is that I'm talking to and how I should be talking to them.
Yeah, that was an interesting one for me to realize, particularly in the case of First Nations, to talk about them going to the light makes no sense at all as spirits, because it's a Christian concept or a New Age concept. But as Raymond Grace said, if you talk about going to the happy hunting grounds, they understand exactly what you're talking about. So using the appropriate language that's cultural specific to the actual entity or discarnate being is really helps them understand what it is that you're trying to communicate to them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a little bit different than your traditional spiritualist approach and the whole idea of saying go into the light. Now we have a further and deeper understanding about what it actually means to help someone move on or someone get to a healthy place. I like to say to assist them to fulfill source's intent rather than to use a particular deity like God or goddess. And okay, so I also do readings and healings. Part of my toolkit was to include healing into my practice so that I can work with people on that level too. And all of that was something I was practicing before I came to the Okanagan. But then when I got to the Okanagan, I discovered that I had a predisposition for helping people connect with their own spirituality, helping people connect with others, bringing people together with common ground so that they can converse about what it is that was their belief system or what their experiences were. And that was in 2008. There was a big opportunity there to bring people together so they could actually talk, because it wasn't, in 2008, it still wasn't considered to be mainstream or acceptable to say that they had experiences that were of the spiritual nature, of the paranormal nature. So a little bit of what I was doing at that time was helping people step out of the spiritual closet or the paranormal closet or whatever you want to say. Yeah. So that was a whole new avenue for me to be a facilitator for something like that. So it took me beyond what I was doing with my rescue work. And what I was doing as a healer is a spirit medium and bringing it into something that was more network and community oriented, more service oriented. And I felt very comfortable with that. And I think that part of the reasons why I was drawn to Questers was that you guys are also of the same mind. You wanted to provide a platform in which people were comfortable with that type of environment, comfortable exploring and getting knowledge, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That anything and everything was possible, and allowing that to be able to be presented in a way that people could make some new assumptions or look at the assumptions that they already have about, how things show up in the world or don't.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So that all leads back to what I ended up doing, and that was after doing paranormal discussion groups and teaching some classes, facilitating other groups and gatherings, I ended up creating, actually, let me back up there just for a minute. It was the advice of my guides. They did kind of a, if you build it, they will come scenario with me. And they said that I was supposed to do to draw my energy into creating a non-for-profit society, and then I needed to take it very seriously instead of just being, oh, well, we'll get together on such and such a night and we'll see who shows up. He wanted me to take it to the next level. So it was a more, I guess, scheduled approach. And I created this non-for-profit group based on their advice that's called the Universal Light Service of the Okanagan Society. Now that's still in place in the Okanagan, it's still up and running. It's just kind of on hiatus while I'm here in Newfoundland. So there's going to be a time when I come back in, and that'll be where I'll step back into when I'm there, probably in 2017.
Yeah, that sounds about the right timing. I think that will be appropriate timing for that type of energy to be within the Okanagan. I think it's still cooking along, not quite ready for the next step. At least that's my intuitive sense.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. It's interesting how spirit works and how efficient they are. And when you get into it and you really start following your path, you find out that things are not simple, that they're multidimensional. And sometimes something that'll happen could have a ripple effect or connections to something that happens 2, 3, maybe even 5 years into the future. And I recently had one of those events in regards to setting up the society. And that was just before it happened, and I was still teaching. There was a change that one of my guides made. I call her Isa Jabba. It's the name that I give her. And she told me that I was to start instructing people that instead of making direct heart-to-heart connections, that we were now supposed to connect to Gaia, go up through the astral realm to source, and then from source, connect to other people. And by doing so, we were creating a healthy, energized environment in our energy bodies. And we were making a celestial connection to other people instead of a heart connection. And at that time, it was a little bit uncomfortable because I was still in the practice of, and with spiritualists who were saying to do, when you connect to people, you connect to them with your heart. And while I understood that, I was also eager to explore why my guides had decided, well, you have to do this whole other way of doing it. So I did. I started teaching people this, and I started practicing it myself. And I felt that I was connecting to other people and connecting to my in-service work in a different way by making sure that I made that as my practice.
Can I ask?
Now,
can I ask a question about that? Do you think that was you were being guided because you were being asked to help birth what I would call the global brain, which is collectively we're the consciousness for Gaia. That's our role. We're part of the evolutionary life stream, but we have a function to do, and that is to be the global brain. And if we just connect heart to heart, we're doing the human aspect, which in itself is beautiful. We need to learn about unity and how to work together as humans. But we generally as a culture are disconnected from Gaia and from source. So by going through Gaia to source, we are then assisting her to create or birth, or however you want to describe it, the new earth or the new era.
Yeah.
So is that what you're relating to?
That is my understanding, yes, that it really was all about communication and being integrated in that way and helping everyone evolve from what we were in, which I would call the third dimensional level, up to the fifth dimensional, transitioning from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and all the other aspects that are in play, not just with Gaia herself, but Gaia's position and role in our our solar system and in our galaxy, because nothing is isolated. It's all connected. Yeah, yeah. So by that, and it was also a way of raising up your energy. Whereas before, the direct heart connection, like you said, is beautiful, and it's still something that I think is valid when you're talking about your inner circle, you know, your close friends and your relatives and the things that you have that I would consider to be part of your sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about things outside of that, so when you're doing meditation where a large meditation is involved, when you're connecting with other people that you don't necessarily have direct association with, it's a much better way of doing it. And it's actually a gift to the other person, because what you're doing is you're going up down there and you're bringing down source to them. And if you think about it that way, it just all of a sudden, it resonates with me when I think about it that way.
So Lois, has this affected, this is a quantum jump, but maybe that's okay. Has this affected the way you work with clients as well? Like, do you now go and do that connection with source before you go and work with the client, whereas maybe previously you almost went from heart to heart?
Yes, or I would just go straight to my guides.
Yes.
My guides, and then connect to them, or I would connect to them directly. Now it's a higher level energy, and there is an infinite capacity to it. Whereas before with mediums, there would be a definite beginning, a heightening of the energy, and then a drop off of it. Under these circumstances, sometimes the energy can get so charged that I have to put almost like a spiritual regulator in there and say, okay, don't give us that much. That's a little bit too much for all of us to work with. So then from that also, and this is along the lines of what you're talking about, in the late 2015 and into this year, I started getting messages about the change in empathic ability. Now, I know that everybody who does this type of work has direct information about how many empaths there are out there. And even people who weren't born with the knowledge that they had that ability are finding that it's awakening for them later on in life. And a lot of the struggles that we face as individuals is to learn about how to be empathic without taking on other people's stuff. Absolutely. Or being influenced by what it is that's going on around you, and then the media, and then the person in traffic who just starts, getting on your skin, and yeah. Right. So it can at times start feeding in on themselves. And that's all because as empaths, we all started out as receivers. But what I've been getting messages about over the last 6 or 7 months is the fact that we're also supposed to be developing the ability to transmit. Now that comes back to what you were saying about being here for Gaia and this connection to source. And although I don't completely understand it, I know that my connection to that difference in meditation and that difference in communication is directly related to what's going on with the people that I know that are empathic these days, and helping them and giving them support by telling them, okay, well, we're going to do this different connection. And by doing so, they're actually, their latent ability to be that transmitter is switched on all of a sudden. Right. Now, the people who have empathy, the people who are empathic have this amazing capacity for love. And can you imagine what the world's going to be like when they all switch this on and are able to send out that amazing capacity for that empathic? I can't wait either. It's just, I love that idea. I'm very happy to hear that. Yes. So intricacy and efficiency of spirit with setting up the society, universal light servers, and this new way of communicating with source and imparting that in service to others. It all ties into when I get back hopefully I can start out on putting that into practice. Yes, yes. It's exciting, isn't it?
Oh, it's very exciting. And it seems to me that, from what you've talked about, I don't have the same schooling or training as you do as being a medium, or even understanding the gifts that I have since I was a child. So I find it fascinating to talk to you because you've literally been able to be schooled in whatever's available on planet Earth to hone these skills in ways that I'm not even aware of. So, I mean, I've just been basically doing it on my own and helping other intuitives feel comfortable about A, being on planet Earth, and B, that they have a physical body that they need to know how to inhabit and take care of it so that it doesn't become overrun by entities and other people's energies. Taking back your personal power and standing in your truth. But you're really in an area that is dear to my heart, which is, Earth stewardship or planetary stewardship, or, the global brain or the evolution of consciousness. You're really at the cutting edge of what I'm excited about, that as intuitives, we're here for a reason. We're here for this transmutation that's about to happen, or is in the midst of happening now, and learning how to assume those powers and understandings in a benevolent way to stand up and deliver that is exciting. And the more people that we can connect to through your society and understand these gifts and why they're here and why that's been a struggle, to learn how to manage all these, right?
Yeah.
Not be overwhelmed, and it is safe, and you're in a community of like-minded people that's there for you. All this is really, really critical. And then on top of it, to find out that you're in Newfoundland and you're being guided, I don't want to talk about this, but I can't help but talk about it, to do some humantic work is even more exciting. Now you're doing literally sacred geometry in the landscape, which is geomancy, which is working with the earth elements to do the restoration of the planet in particular bioregions that needs to happen to bring the earth energies back on 100% full power to do the earth healing necessary. So now I'm really excited about what you're doing, right? So in one way is that
the whole
step back from what you were doing before, but it's a step forward. So when you come back, you'll be integrating all those new skills in what you bring to the Okanagan. So to me, that's really, really exciting.
Yes, yes. Well, it's all, all new to me. And part of it, even though it's familiar, it's stuff that I was applying to smaller events.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, applying it to a larger area is really pushing me outside of my box. And so maybe I should say a little bit about what you're referring to.
Sure, go for it.
So that the audience understands. I recently had some events in my life, and I won't go into all of them because I don't want to end up just talking all about that or all about me. But the short version of it is that my understanding from communicating with my spirit guides, communicating with the beings that are in the area that I'm in, and with what I would refer to as my star family, and I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but that's through my, that's something that I have contact with through my CE5 nights. So I have these, I don't know if I want to call them extraterrestrial. I think I refer them more as otherworldly beings and celestial. So they're higher vibrational beings, and I refer them to them as my star family because they're actually from some place outside of Earth, but they're in our reality or our frame of time. So with working with them, I found that there's a direct link between, and I'm going to go off in the woo-woo direction here. There's a direct link between what's going on with HARP and weather manipulation and what I would call psychotronics, which is the ability to affect people living on the Earth through a subliminal way. It's an energy technology that I wouldn't necessarily say that the government is using on us, but there is this technology that is being operated. It's also the same technology that affects the weather. Now, there is scientific backing for this. So if you were to go online and start doing some research, or if you were to start investigating it and say that your intention was to learn more about this type of technology and what's going on, you'll find that there is actually scientific proof that it's happening. You can find heart stations and all that. So for anyone who feels that it's just way out there, just investigate it a little bit, because you can find solid proof that it exists.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely. I just read quite a bit about this, and it's not just the inner weather manipulation; it's the outer weather. But they're both interconnected about the manipulation. So do you think, again, I'm putting another tangent on here, but do you think that part of the whole evolutionary process and why this is showing up is for us to really assume our own personal power and to understand where our boundaries are and to raise our conscious level so that these types of, well, let's call them attacks or dumbing down, I want to describe them, raise our consciousness above them. And it's forcing us to really, really get in tune with who we are and why we're here.
Yes. No, I think that's true. Also, that we now have an opportunity to drop the us and them.
Yes.
So in every sense of the word, I am responsible for what's going on out there.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not disconnected from that energy. I'm connected to that. And in some way, on a spiritual level, it is me who's doing that to the planet.
Absolutely. And this is the biggest thing across to people is, entities are not your enemy. Entities are your greatest gift. They're showing up to give you a gift when you reclaim the personal power that you've allowed the entity to claim and show you, that shadow part of yourself. When you claim that, the gift that you receive is is really, really significant. So rather than the old school, which is, entities and we have to, push them away or send them to the light or do this or do that or fight them or whatever, it's a whole paradigm shift of, hey, we're creating the world we live in with every thought, word, and deed. So we're responsible for everything that shows up,
Yes, yes.
Therefore.
So now that we're in this opportunity where we can fully recognize that, and manifestation does not have to take as many steps as it did before, because we're manifesting on a different level. So all of this has to come out. Right. We have to clean out our spiritual closets. We have to refresh all that energy, because it is more so harmful. It's more important that we do that and we take accountability and self-responsibility for it. So I had this experience here with my star family bringing to my attention what I would have called a portal. And I had been having problems with the energy in my house. I was having trouble sustaining it. I was having incidents where I felt like I was being psychically attacked. And all things that I would have just dealt with quite easily. And I had practices and methods and rituals in place where this stuff was just taken care of. Those things are no longer working. So, I won't go into big detail, but I had this one night where I had all these ETs in the house, and they asked my permission to shut something down, and they shut down this portal that was to the southeast of where my house is. And it changed everything. And from that launched the idea, so we'll bring it back to your original question with the geomancy and the shamanic work, is that people have been doing this for a long time. So it's not new to me. There has been many people worldwide who've been carrying on this work, who've been doing healing for the ley lines and the energy centers and the nervous system of the planet. And they've been practicing something that is old knowledge, and it's working. Now it was time for someone here to hear the message that needed to happen for Newfoundland too. So that's where we come back into when I contacted you and said, okay, I'm just one person. I have been looking for other people here who can help me, and I haven't found anybody. So I'm going to reach out to my more Canadian-wide network and ask for long-distance help and get what I would call an awakening of the heart to the islands to happen, and then a firing of the grid. So when the rest of the planet comes back online, and we're going back to that communication thing,
Yes.
that we're going to be part of that system. Yeah. So even if I'm only able to do this partially here, if I can just get that much done when the rest of the grid fires, it will self-initiate. So,
Absolutely.
Which is good news. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm part of another group that meets every second week, which is doing exactly that type of work around the planet. So I've already mentioned that what you're doing to that group, because there's other people south of you that are doing similar work. So just to know that there is a whole neural network that's being formed doing this work. And some are brand new like you to it. They're just literally been called to do this work in the last few months, and it's brand new to them. So they're in the process of learning how to do this. And I do know people who've done this that have done it many, many years ago, So yes, it's an ongoing, maybe it's just part of us all waking up, that we all arrive at this in different ways. And this is just one of the evolutionary steps of consciousness that we go through individually. And
oh, yeah. 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 And being a spirit medium, I also have a different concept of time.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's really not like we're all new or that this is happening at different times. There is a synchronicity that's happening here. There's a fluid, and it's not necessarily linear. Yeah. Yeah.
I know here,
so
working with Marco Prigozhnik when he came and we did the Sacred Shuswap and learned about this, the sacredness of the landscape. I worked with the Angel of North America, and this is, where I live, and the Shuswap is one of 32 major sites for North America, where when we do ceremony here, it fires the grid, all in the other, 32 points on North America, and learning all about that. And then also discovering that the shaman that were before us already knew all this and put this all into place, did ceremonies, and to be able to tune into that with the earth elements and realize that a large part of the grid has been shut down. Some part of it is around 25%, some of it's 50%. But every time we do ceremony, it reactivates the grid and brings up the original power. And to me, that's exciting too. So it's an ongoing work of how we work, as part of the global brain with Gaia to help her come back online for this next.
Yeah. Yes. 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 It's very exciting. Yeah. Yeah. So spirit is efficient. What we're all connected to, it's really a continuum. Yeah. So even though I'm out here in Newfoundland, I have this connection to things that are still going on in the Okanagan, and the capacity to learn and to pick up on that stuff. Because a lot of the things that I do and a lot of the messages that direct me come from source, come from my guides or energy beings, celestial, or my star family. And then I'll go and I'll say, okay, well, they put this little earworm in me, and I have to follow through and research and find out, okay, well, what are they really talking about? And I don't know if you have done any of this method, but what after they started giving me this insight and this inspiration to set out and work on that level over here on the East, I started finding out that the method that resonated with me is to take part of the land from one sacred site and deliver it to the next, and then ask and take another part and go to the next sacred site. So I'm actually going to do, I've got till fall 2017. I figured out where the heart of the island is. I'm pretty sure on that. So I'm going to start there. And I'm going to take 8 little rocks or 8 little tiny pieces of earth or whatever it is that I'm inspired when I'm there. And I'm going to do a passing around. I'm going to take each of them to the sacred spot where I'm driven to, and then I'm going to take something from that sacred spot, continue along.
I like that. I particularly I like to use stones. So, for example,
Yes.
the medicine wheel in our yard is made up of stones, rather, and they're all from the water system of British Columbia, the major systems that I'm in love with. So one's from, say, the confluence of the Fraser and the Thompson and so on, and the Stein River. So when I bring them all together and they're in the medicine wheel, they talk to all those river beings, right? And communicate.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love the idea that the carrier, the spirit bundle for you is the stone or the altar from one sacred site to the next, right? And connecting those together so that they can communicate with each other. That's really, really quite exciting work to be called.
Yeah. Yes, I don't. Like I said, I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish all 8 of the spots, and I haven't located where all 8 are. Which is, and I don't mind. I don't mind things unfolding as they go along. I'm quite easy with that process, because that's the way that things usually go for me, is that I don't know exactly, I don't know the whole story until I get to the end of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's usually the point of transition.
Yes. Yes. And that's okay too.
That's okay too. What was that all about anyway? Yeah. So I know you're taking this time in the midst of all these things you're doing. Are you finding time to write?
I am, yes. Which is, here we go again with I didn't know the whole story till I got into it. But all of this is tying in. My procrastination, because I can take complete responsibility for this, for the last 2 or 3 years on writing the book. I understand it now, because it wasn't until I came here, it wasn't until I had done, and I should also say that my father passed away in January of 2015. So I had a self-proposed or self-perpetuated journey that I took, where I explored everything. I took everything back out of the closet, good, bad, indifferent, hateful, loving, whatever it was, and I re-examined all of it with the purpose of getting to January 2016 and saying, okay, now I let go of my personal history. So I let go of a whole bunch of stuff. It was an amazing experience. But in September 2015, when I got here, I was in quite a dark place that I had purposely driven myself into. So when I got here and I discovered that there was energy work that needed to be done, and how it was going to play out, I kind of had a light bulb moment where, okay, now I understand. I set off on this journey not really knowing where it was going to go, but it's led to here, and it's led to what has to happen next. So I'm glad that I was able to be, that I could release myself to just say, just follow where you're supposed to be going. And
isn't that the most difficult thing for us? Well, I'll talk for myself, to learn, is to allow myself to be guided.
To get out of your own way? Yeah, it's huge.
I'm so addicted to the academic aspect of you got to do, you've got to collect information, you got to use your head, you got to use your brain, you got to put all this together, you got to make sense of it. I mean, it just gets overwhelming when, as an intuitive, your job is to show up. Your job is to,
Yes.
in the now, your
Yes.
job is to receive
Yes.
from source and communicate that. It's not a learning,
Yeah.
it's a being.
Yeah.
And stop the
Yeah.
doing. And I'm so used to the doing, so I'm getting over my addiction.
Yeah. So with my book, I have a box. You can't see it, but it's behind me.
Yeah.
And it is full. It's like stuff full of the notes. It's the book compiled. I just haven't put it into a book format. I'm no longer able to open the box anymore. Everything that I've been given is enough for a book on its own. And yeah, so my whole idea, like you're saying, of having control and being in the physical while I'm having this experience of being a writer and an author, I have to throw it out the window. Everything that has gone into the book up to this point, which I started in January, has been completely new material, a completely different direction, or a completely different take on what it is that's in the box. But the box is not of value to me anymore, unfortunately.
Well,
yeah, all that work.
It was part of clearing out your spiritual closet, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
To start
It was funny because at one point when we were moving and we were packing, my husband said to me, "Well, why are we bringing this?" And I said to him, "I can't throw out the box. Everything is in that box." Guess what's going to happen?
Yeah. Well,
Box
maybe you
is
can
on
have
its
a
way.
beautiful, energetic fire and do a blessing with it and all the rest of it, right? You turn it to the element.
There you go.
Yeah.
Release it back to where it came
Getting
from.
near the end of this show, and I would love for it to go on and on and on forever. So, how do people get hold of you, particularly intuitives that want to work with you? Are you still available, or are you on hiatus until you come back to the Okanagan?
Well, I'm available through Skype, and I'm available through online. So yes, and in my email address is really simple. It's my first and last name at gmail.com. And that's probably the best way to reach me and to set up an appointment. I'm doing mentoring sessions over Skype. I have a limited amount of those that I can do, though, and still do all the other work that I want to get done. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Universal Light Service of the Okanagan, for when it comes back up and running in the future, you can also get a hold of me for that. I think the best way to describe the society is to say that it's an advanced manifestation group. So people who want to create change by using, and I know that my other members don't like this, but I love this term, spiritual activism and manifestation thought, meditation, and energy work. That's basically what this is set up for. It's for us to take the responsibility for change, our change, our self-responsibility, and to put it into real action for the rest of the world. And we have a focus of working on BC and working in that area. So is that, because it's my belief that if you change what's in your immediate environment, that it has a ripple effect, and therefore it creates the change that you want to see in the other parts of the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, the whole aspect of land stewardship is falling in love with where you are and understanding completely the energies of the elementals that you're working with, so that when you do ceremony and you do touch that sacred part of the earth, that you have an intimate connection to it. And, I think there's two types of people. There's the warriors, or the light beings that are on the path, so to speak. They travel from place to place. They carry the bundle with them. And there's those that host them, that are in certain parts of the landscape. I've always been a host for some reason. It's the one place. It's deep roots into Gaia. I need that grounding. I need that deep connection to do the work I'm called to. And I love people coming to my place. I love hosting them and taking care of them. but I just love to be where I am, right?
Yeah. Yes, and I know because I have a calling back to that. We were in Mara for over 2 years, and that is definitely where I'm heading back to when we leave the island, the rock. Yeah. Yeah. So, you wanted a little bit of a conclusion
Yeah, I
with
want,
something.
for, take your best shot of it. One of the things is I would think is you offer so much opportunity for a medium or an intuitive who's just waking up to understand who they are and how to deal with the personal energies that's flowing through them. And I would think, being able to get hold of you to have that sort of discussion would be very stabilizing for a lot of people. I would also think that, with the new children that are coming through, there were the rainbow children, or however you want to define them, helping them be comfortable in their body and welcome to planet Earth, which for them, in many cases, is very, very overwhelming. That they find it
Yeah.
in the physical body. So, yeah, all of that. So, given that sort of background, what sort of suggestions do you have around all this whole area that we've been talking about? I mean, I know it's a book.
Yeah.
I know it's a book.
Yes. The most important thing I would suggest to people, well, there's two things, and I'll just touch on both of them briefly here. And that is that you locate the heart of your house. And all work that you do comes in and out of that heart. Now, that's something I've been doing for years, but I didn't fully understand. So when I was doing my consultations and I was working as for land clearing and for energy work and as a rescue medium, I always did that instinctually. I would locate the heart of the house and then I'd work out from there, or heart of the area that I was working in. But now more than ever, and to have sacred space in that heart, if you possibly can. Now, it might take some rearranging. It might not be okay with every member of your household. So you might have to compromise and find a way to, make it okay. But to have altar and sacred space in that heart is going to make a huge difference for what's coming in the future. And then the other thing that's even more important than that is the ability to self-heal. And I can't emphasize this enough. So for all those people who are finding their intuition is awakening, that they've discovered they're empathic, or that they're having experiences as a medium for the first time, you can't hesitate anymore. You have to go out and learn self-healing methods, whether it be how to dowse, whether it be how to do EFT, Reiki. There's all kinds of methods out there that have self-healing as a part of it, and you need to be able to self-heal. It's not something that you're going to do on a weekly basis. It's something you're probably going to do on a daily basis. And some days you're going to need to do it on an hourly basis. But as we go further on here, the more and more stuff that comes up, the more and more stuff you're going to have to be able to manage and heal. And that's, so that would be my biggest thing. Go out there and learn how to be a healer.
And I'd add a third, which you're already doing, and that is find community. Find a community of like-minded people that support you. Because it's very important. It's the network, it's the global brain, it's the community that will help you when you're down to bring you back up. So, and really, Lois, that's really what you are all about, is community. So the community.
Oh yeah, being able to have people come to me who share something that's so personal for the first time, and sometimes it's not really that, it's not a big story. It wasn't a massive event. It was just one particular instance, but that affected them. And that's part of the self-healing though too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That if we can take, we're also dealing with multiple lives trauma, and trauma that has been experienced on this planet. And recognizing that and allowing it to go on from us, releasing it so that we don't have to have it anymore in our person.
Yeah, being gentle with ourselves. Lois, it was a pleasure having you on the show. We'll have to connect again, and thank you ever so much.
Yes, and I will be in touch with you in regards to our big adventure with getting the grid established back here on the rock.
I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of my favorite places on earth, is the good old rock.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye, and thank you
very much.
so much.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, theWellnessStore.ca, and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at theWellnessAcademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at theWellnessShow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.